So we're our first table talk today in collaboration with Canham's. We've got Kevin here representing Canham's. So we're going to kick it off with Camilla asking the first question. So we hope you enjoy this new series.
Okay, perfect. And obviously, Ollie, you're representing Corker Brothers.
So I am, yes, sorry, I forgot to say that.
Well, let's start maybe by, Kevin, if you can introduce yourself and then we'll go over to Ollie. Tell us a bit about Canham's, about what your role is there.
Sure. So I'm Kevin and I work at Canham Homes and I'm a good friend of Michael's, and about a year ago Michael asked me to come along to assist on some of the marketing and some of the procurement at the business. So I've been in, I've just coming up for 12 months. Canham obviously is a very well-known business in the local area, been going for 50 years, predominantly as a developer, as a builder, and now as a developer as well. There's quite a few strings to the business that have developed over certainly the last 25 years, but it is a well-known established business for the last 50.
How long have you known Michael?
So I've now known Michael for over 4 decades. Wow. So I go back quite a way. I sort of socialising.
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Yeah, you can't tell me. The first time I ever met him was he was a skate guard at roller skating disco.
Was it?
Yeah. That's the first time I met Michael, yeah.
Full lycra?
Oh, no, leg warmers. You had to have the leg warmers. Yeah, the leg warmers. So that's how I initially met Michael back then, and we just become friends. And since then, obviously, very close friends.
And because his dad originally started AB Canham's 50 years ago this year, at what point when you were sort of leaving school, when you all left school, did he go straight into work with his dad?
Yeah, we started looking at actually becoming a mechanic of some kind, but then gravitated into the...
We all went down that route. I've done that as well.
We all tried it once or twice. But no, then he went into obviously working for his dad. He was a bricklayer, mainly bricklaying. And then right at the beginning, there was just his dad himself and a labourer. That was it.
What, where was they? Was it, sort of small local jobs? What sort of jobs were they doing?
Yeah, mainly sort of this area, the Paddockwood area and surrounding, always pretty much Kent. And if you meet Alan, the story is you could show him a photo and he could tell you exactly where that development was, or that project was that he did. Some of the photos are fantastic to look at as well. You see the sort of the branding changing over the years, and the vehicles change to, the small little pickup truck they have to start with into where they've kind of got to now.
5 decades is a long time, isn't it? Especially for like a building firm to be established that long.
So did he start off then doing single houses, it sounds like, if he was doing Oast House conversions?
Yeah, conversions. Yeah, Oast House conversions. Predominantly, I think Alan's passion was more that kind of work, was in looking at turning something that was a wreck back into something beautiful.
Right, and it's probably quite not, you're a small 3-man team.
Yeah.
You don't have the stress of...
you could be there for a year.
Yeah,
you could be there for a year.
You all get along as a team. It's probably quite nice working with your son and one other bloke.
Yeah. I think also once you get into a sector, people then come to you, don't they? And they know you're good at that. And even at the party that we had back in June, we invited along a lot of like the old estate agents that were now retired, that Michael and Alan have worked with back in the day, and the nostalgia just coming through straight away when you see them getting together and talking about difficult projects and, oh, remember we did that one, and then the estate agent saying what they managed to sell it for. It was for us, seeing where we are now and seeing where it started. It was so fascinating to listen to, and the passion, seeing Alan's eyes light up, talking about,
the journey.
50 years ago. We're talking 50 years ago, something he remembers like it was yesterday. And I think there's a tiny bit of him thinks, still in me.
Yeah, get him out of the tools.
Yeah.
So how did the business evolve over the years, and especially when Michael took over?
So that happened probably, so Michael was obviously involved as soon as he left school. And then they did start to do a few new builds. Then Alan got poorly. So Michael just said, look, Dad, I think it's time for you to sit back a bit and enjoy life a bit more. So then Michael took over running the business and then started doing more and more developments, as in new home developments. And then I think he just found his niche and passion for finding the sites, building the sites, and obviously then selling those. But yeah, especially like the boutique, he loves doing the boutique kind of sites. And it's kind of interesting to see now, obviously get to know Ollie and Harry, it's kind of like mimicking the passion's very similar. So I think that's again when we look at this relationship, now I think Michael sees where his journey went and can see that yours is very similar.
So I think that's a really nice segue. So Ollie, maybe you can talk about, from a Corker Brothers perspective, how you're working with Canhams, what that relationship is, and really where it's come from.
Yeah, so obviously we're known in the local area ourselves from this business that we're sat in now. So we own, our sister business is Corker. And Dad had always known Michael. They sort of like grew up in the same area and had a very close mutual friend, which was Richard Bass. So Michael's a very good friend, Kevin's a very good friend, and my dad's a very good friend. And Richard would always just be randomly popping in the office and spending hours with us round the back, chatting away with a cup of tea. And then sort of we got to a stage in this business where we'd been growing it for a few years after the rebrand, and there was me, Harry, my mum and my dad, and we would always sort of study the financial markets in our spare time. So we'd get up here at 5, we'd watch a couple of DVDs on a Sunday when I wasn't with Liz. We'd sit around my mum's watching DVDs and falling asleep watching these charts and trying to understand it all. But that was always Harry's thing that he wanted to do. Yeah. But I would do it with him so I could talk the same language and understand what he was talking about. And then we got to a point just before COVID, and Harry wasn't sure he wanted to stay in this business, which we was fine with because there was me and my dad, you know, we plenty of us here to run it and lead it. Yeah. And we always wanted to diversify and, you know, spread our wings and you know, learn. And we're just curious creatures and human beings. So like we decided that he would start to finish at 12 in the quiet months and go home to, you know, really put like the afternoon and a few hours more work into dedicating himself into the financial markets and understanding it more. So we'd done that for a few years, and then just before COVID, he was like I say, he wasn't sure if he wanted to stay here. He was struggling in the markets a little bit, and so I saw a course on YouTube. So I watched a video one night on YouTube, and I saw these guys teaching people how to like find land, and it was all about using this bit of technology to source the land and then understand how you value that land and developing it out. And so he was at his crossroads. I saw this video and I sent it straight to him. I said, we need to go and do this video. Yeah. These guys look like they're genuine people. Let's just go and do it. And so we had a shared account with a bit of capital in it, and we dived into that course. Done a 3-day intensive where we learned about valuing the land, the team you need around you to sort of execute on that appraisal and developing it out and finding that land. And then we went back for another 3-day intensive where we learned about all the planning constraints, the technology to source the land. So we'd done that, come off the course, hit the ground running, and we was finding all sorts of sites. We was talking to all sorts of people that we thought that could back us and could be investors, but none of them had development experience. There was all just wealthy individuals that had a bit of capital. And then out of the blue, Richard pops in the office like he did, and me and Harry was there. Well, Harry was sourcing some land and just like looking through what we was doing on a day-to-day basis when we was quiet here. And Richard said, what are you doing there? And we said that we'd been on this course, and he said, well, you should speak to Michael. Yeah. And we thought, brilliant. So he said, I'll ring Michael and I'll call you in a couple of hours to see if you can come, because he was going for breakfast with him at the Chaser Inn. Oh yeah. The next day. Yeah. So he rings us back 2 hours later and he says, yeah, be there at 9 o'clock for breakfast. So me and Harry was like, lovely. This is brilliant.
Who paid?
I can't remember actually. Hopefully we did. But we met him bang on 9 o'clock at the Chaser Inn, had a good bit of breakfast, fresh off the course, had a good conversation with Michael, and he probably could see that we had a bit of knowledge. Yeah.
And passion.
And hungry enough to like, you know, learn and do the work. So he said, all right, when you find a site, let me know. So we came away from that and just was carrying on doing what we're doing, finding sites, sending letters, trying to source a piece of land that could get us started. And that's when we got a bite from the site in Matfield, yep, which had outline planning. And because we took our time with that site, so we didn't just like take that scheme, we valued the scheme and appraised that scheme, but the value that it was coming out on based on that scheme was miles off from the vendor's expectation.
What do you mean by scheme?
So scheme in terms of like an outline plan application is the stage for like a detailed plan application. So if like someone wants to, you know, see if that site has the chance of getting planning, it's a slightly cost-effective way before you go into a detailed plan to give the confidence to a buyer.
Comes from a good idea to a viable idea, I guess is.
Yeah, exactly. And so they had outlined for 3 large barns, like big barns.
Okay.
And so we appraised that scheme and it was quite low and way off the expectations of the vendor. And so we just took our time with it a little bit more than probably most developers that had previously offered on the site. And we worked out that if we split up 2 of the largest barns and created from 1 unit to 2 4-bedroom detached, and then the other large barn, split them up and created 2 3-bed semis. And we looked into all the market sort of comparables and data and what was selling per square foot, the highest in Matfield, which turns out was a 3-bed semi, and probably is the case in sort of most areas. Them sort of 3-bed semis seems to go for the higher price. So we done that, revised our offer, presented it to them, and basically got the site. So once we had that site, we then said to Michael, we've got this site, and he came down, we went through the numbers, and he said, all right, brilliant. He said, let us know when you get planning on it. So, you know, that was a massive eye-opener for us.
How long was that?
Going through that process, probably in total a 2-year process, because we had some issues with like the access, which is all sort of confidential. So that took a lot of time to overcome them hurdles. And that's what really delayed that process. So, you know, having your money, and that was all our sort of personal risk money, you know, getting all those legal fees paid and getting it through planning, you know. And there was one point in that journey where we just thought that we wasn't going to get it through planning because of this issue, and we had nowhere else to go.
And you spent money.
Yeah, we had all our money in it. So, you know, we was at risk of basically ultimately looking to lose that money because it couldn't go anywhere. It couldn't get planning on it. And then something happened that week, which again, I can't go into too much detail about, but it allowed us to get that site over the line effectively and get it into planning. So brilliant.
So looking back then, because obviously that had its challenges, would you do it again in the same site?
100%, yeah.
So it was worth the investment of your time.
You've learned a lot, I guess, in that 2 years. Though.
The knowledge that we had gained, and obviously because we that 2-year period was, you know, back and forth with Michael, like updating him, and so we built a relationship with Michael that we was able to pick that phone up at a stage when we sort of built that relationship, and would be able to ask him questions of like, well, what the fuck do we do here? Because we've got no clue.
That's a technical term, by the way. Yeah.
What on earth do we do? So it was all new to us. So we had, so the course we done, we was on a mastermind sort of like mentorship. So we could ask them questions. Yeah. But at the point where, like, you know, we started to build that relationship with Michael, we just, you know, leaned on him for his knowledge and experience. And he was, you know, lucky enough to us, and, you know, how grateful we are for that advice and that knowledge to be able to lean on him like that was
I think he's amazing. I do think, knowing him as well as I do, that he does enjoy that mentorship role, even though it's not a label he would probably put on himself. The fact that he knows that he's got 2 really passionate guys that are desperately wanting to do well, and he has that knowledge base, you know, in his portfolio to go, talk to me. And we've talked about it before. There's things he will see and know and find that you just don't think of. How he does it, it's incredible. But he does find things, doesn't he? Or don't go down that journey, that turn right here, that kind of thing.
There is nothing that I can honestly say that we've not asked him one thing that he just can't reel off the back, you know, out of his head. Yeah. There's nothing that he doesn't know that I've seen like yet. And, you know, just all the detail in the contracts, like you think how like in depth that is, and all the things you've got to look out for when navigating, like getting a site through planning. He knows all that by the back of his hands. But then, like, you know, his intensive experience and knowledge in the construction side, driving the site forward, and all that is just, it's invaluable. Like, it's
So I suppose if you hadn't had that sort of opportune conversation with Richard in the office here, and then you hadn't had that breakfast meeting, what direction would you have gone down? Would you have just found a builder to partner with, or what was the plan?
By any means necessary. So like finding people that would invest and, you know, give us that capital. We was looking to, you know, give a percentage on that loan, so we would have paid the loan to buy the site.
Yeah.
But we would have then been so hands-on, project managing, find the main contractor, and it would have been a lot more difficult, without a doubt, getting our foot into a site and getting that to where we've got it now.
So then how does the partnership work? What's Corker Brothers' role? What's Canham's role? Where do those two sort of mesh together?
Yeah, so like Kev touched on it a little bit earlier. So you've got two sides of Canham's.
Yes. So we've got, well, like AB Canham is the original business. It's just called Canham now. It's what it's known to everyone. But so the actual building side of the business, which has got many awards, which obviously support the fact that if you go down the road and look at the quality of the build, like, again, I think it's something that you've seen when you started looking at working with Michael and some of the other development we've got, that you like what you see.
For us, Camilla, like, you couldn't ask for a better partner, and you'll back me up on this, for development in this industry. Like, they are renowned. They've been in this industry, operating in this industry for years. You know, he's part owner of Fernham's. You know, he started that, and that aided in helping flourish AB Canham, because they was the main contractor on that site. So they've been building houses to like the highest level for decades.
And we employ, crikey, probably over 150 people, all locals. Again, that's the big thing. We are a local family-run business. Michael's sister Sharon, she heads up all the finances across all the businesses. I mean, they are two peas in a pod. They really are. I mean, you can't, with Sharon as well, you ask her a question, she'll know that answer down to the penny. Bearing in mind, things are changing constantly in certainly when you've got as many developments we've got on the go at the moment, and more to come, and with obviously partnering as well with other people as well. And also we build exclusive properties, certainly around Sevenoaks, and these are million, you know, like some of them in the tens of £1 million size houses, bespoke homes that AB Canham do as well. You know, there's a lot going on, and the procurement team that on it, they making sure that we've got everything we need to get to site, all the sites on the right days. We've got a brilliant lead team, board team over there as well. Lee that looks after every single development, oversees it all. Michael still comes in hands-on to every week to go to site. He still has that passion and drive to see what's going on and know what's going on and be 10 steps ahead of all of us. Can't catch him out. We've all tried. He can't do it. He's always 10 steps ahead. Always 10 steps ahead. So then we've got Canham Homes, which it's been going for 10 years, but more so in the last 3 to 4 years have we started our own developments as well. So we're the developer at Canham Homes, but Canham, or AB Canham, are the builder contractor for all of our developments as well. So and then we've got Canham Aggregates that Michael bought about 2 years ago, and that's a recycling centre for all the inert materials. Something I know you guys know really well from here. I'm still learning about inert materials and what you can recycle and what you can't. That's brilliant for us because we can then repurpose that on our own developments, but we also do sell to trade as well. But predominantly, you know, a lot of the stuff we can repurpose and then reuse ourselves. So there's a lot going on there, but to support, I think, where we're going with the fact that when you was looking out who should you go to, well, we've got all of our own plant, we've got all of our own lorries, we've got all of our own men. The hardest thing I think with any, and I'm sure again you can back me on this, with any development is getting the right contractors. Now, if you're outsourcing all of that to somebody else, you're at their mercy. You are truly at their mercy to go, are they going to turn up today? Yeah. Well, Michael owns our contractors, our developers, so builders. So we know they're going to turn up. We know the brickies are going to turn up on that day. The plumbers are going to turn, and that is critical. Again, we talk about it quite often at your site. The reason what makes a site viable is getting it finished in time, and obviously selling them in time. But you, Ollie and Harry, need to know that plot 4 is going to be ready for that person that is keen to move in. So all of that ingredients to make sure that we can get it right for our customer, for what a vet word, Corker Brothers, that's instrumental in you choosing us again for the next development.
Well, and like when you're on a site like that, we're only doing 5 houses. I only say only, but compared to like some of the schemes Michael's doing, yeah, and it's you couldn't have. I don't think you could have asked for a better site to start with. Just someone's garden, a few apple trees in there, so
Prime location.
But like in terms of like executing on that build, on how important that is if you start to get delays, or if suppliers don't deliver things on time, or anything, that construction schedule is key, because you're into the banks for interest on the development finance.
Of course, yeah.
So if things start overrunning, or if you don't know when that unit's going to be done, or when you should be marketing it, or when you should be pressing on. And I think like it wasn't just like Michael's experience and knowledge and capital that we could leverage. It was everything, the infrastructure that he's built over that last sort of 50 years behind him. That is the key factor in driving a successful development business forward. That is key, isn't it?
We are learning from you as well, so do know that we are learning from you too.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, Ollie, you've learned you've learned a lot from the team at Canham, and as you say, this is your sort of first foray into development. But Kevin, from your side, we were talking about it earlier, but what is it that you've then learned from Corker Brothers and their way of doing things?
I've been stitched up a few times.
How to be a pain in the arse.
So as you can probably tell, I'm not a millennial. So I've been in marketing for many, many years, and right back to traditional marketing of newspaper ads. God, I'm really showing my age now, aren't I? Obviously got into the digital marketing over the last 10, 15 years. But this kind of thing now is so alien to me, certainly being this side of the camera. What's been fantastic, even when we're looking at from a Canham Homes perspective and watching, I don't sort of call them the boys, but I don't mean that detrimental. We've seen the lads doing what they do, and just so naturally, you watch them on those videos, and he constantly tell me, and Joe back there say, yeah, he's not, but they just do it so well, and they stitched me up about 3 months ago. We was in a board meeting with Michael, wasn't we? And they've been desperately trying to get Michael, because he would be phenomenal. Yeah. Again, he likes to stay in the shadows, but we will drag him out one day, and we'll get him sitting here one day. I promise you. If you'll have to tie him to the chair. And both you and Harry are trying to get Michael to do something, or just do a day on the site, on the development. And then he said, "Oh, Kevin, do it then." No, but learning how they do it, seeing how it's done, is so exciting. This is exciting for me because I've never done it before, and seeing the traffic that's generated from that, from an interest, for me, I've seen it's 100% where this industry needs to go, and we are already seeing people mimicking now. Some of the big boys are actually starting to. They're doing the same. They're watching you, which I think is the best accolade you could get, Ollie.
Definitely, yeah.
If you get some of the big boys starting to mimic how you've been, and you were obviously instrumental at that. We've seen that because we hadn't seen it before, and now we're seeing it.
I think that's what's nice about from our side is like, we don't come from that sort of like, my dad has a construction company, so I've been around sites and stuff like that. But coming from this business,
those hands have never laid a brick though.
Definitely ain't laid a brick. But like coming from this business and like going through all the failures that we've learnt here, and just like constantly evaluating of like where we are and how we can stand out and push ourselves forward, and to see things work for this business in terms of like your marketing, your brand positioning and all that sort of stuff, I think gives us that fresh perspective on when we sort of transfer our skills over to JV with Michael on the development site. So like what we bring to the table, I feel, is like obviously our energy, that sort of modern way of thinking. I love thinking outside the box and seeing how we can do things different. But like packaging up a brand and then being able to communicate that brand and like what your mission is and what you're doing to your audience has been key for this business, for growing this business. So like I think that is what I would say bring to the business at the forefront. But we're as ambitious and as passionate as Michael is, so we love to learn and love to be around everything we're learning at the minute in terms of like the option agreements and the contracts and the build and all that stuff. It's just brilliant.
But one of the most important things, I think, probably forever really in terms of in marketing advertising is telling a story.
Yeah.
We love stories. That's what people engage with, and I think that's something that you've been doing really well with Bass Orchards, with Corker Brothers. You've taken people on the journey of how that development's going, what the process has been, and I suppose in that thought of telling the story, one thing that we haven't really spoken about very specifically is Bass Orchards. So maybe you can just tell us a bit more about the site, about where even the name came from. What's the story of Bass Orchards?
Well, it's obviously like we secured Matfield, like we've discussed, but the name came around. So we worked with a really good company called Adam Chic. So they done the branding, and they said they would normally work out the name for that site as well when they're doing the branding. But we said that we would like to have a specific name called Bass Orchards, and that was all based on who we touched on earlier, Richard Bass, who was a very good mutual friend. Unfortunately, sadly, passed away during COVID. So he never got to see the relationship of us and Michael truly flourish. And out of respect, and I think if when he's looking down on us, to be calling that first project, which is a real staple for our partnership and our relationship, Bass Orchards, not only meant a lot, like massively to us, but we hope it meant a lot to everyone involved in that project, because he was such a nice person.
He was well known as local photographer, so everybody knew Richard. I mean, literally, he probably did everyone's weddings in this area. Very well. And Mark is his son. He's also a photographer. He does a lot of our and some of our video shoots as well. Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think he'd be looking down really proud, really proud.
And so like, Richard was a very down to earth, passionate person who generally wanted to see people become successful and do well.
Connect people.
And connect people, exactly. So he was always like connecting people and wanting to see that relationship flourish. And yeah, I mean, obviously he's not here, but hopefully he's looking down on that relationship.
If we tell you you're doing it all wrong,
Yeah, he'd be fucking he'd be laughing.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
That must then really help and have helped your relationship, the two businesses working together, to almost have that reminder, let's remember the passion, the friendliness, the advice, that giving community.
100%, yeah. And I think the fact that, as you touched on, Ollie's dad and Richard were incredibly close, grew up together. I think went to school together as well, didn't they? So again, that, and Mark was from Paddock Wood, boys are from Paddock Wood, Rich was from Paddock Wood. That time, I've known Richard the same time as I've known. I mean, I worked with Richard when I was 17. The local factory down the road. But I think absolutely that tie of everyone has made it more, and the fact that it's local again. And I think even people don't know that story that it's named after. But everyone knows Richard. So they heard that, well, I was named after Richard. Oh, I wouldn't remember him. So I do think, again, from a community perspective, they'll understand it more. And it goes back, I think, even something you touched on just now about the energy and passion that you and Harry have. That has to come from somewhere. That's got to be from mum and dad. You know what I mean? Because that not organic. That's something that you learn.
Mate, yeah, we found out the true value of proper hard graft. Leaving school at 16, and my dad had a job up in Putney, getting up at 5, getting home at 7. Yeah, working for a developer, building this block of flats. Cool. Was that an eye opener into the real world or what? And that just seeing him work his arse off, and mum work all the time, and still doing it now. It's instilled in us to have that work ethic as well. But I think what we love to do, me and Harry, is I never switch off, as you can probably tell. So I love working. It's just in my core to work.
And he's married. He's getting away with it.
2 kids.
Yeah.
But ever since I've been with Liz, I've always just been like that. Just seeing what's next and evaluating where I am. But I think having that mindset and that passion to do things like that, you'll always seek opportunities and be focused on the next thing and what's in front of you.
So speaking of the next thing, what is coming up next?
Can we keep up with? That's the thing.
Definitely
Can we keep
not.
up?
Well, obviously, I lead this business, and I think what's great about working with all you guys is we can leverage your skill sets and your team and lean on you. Of course, we're JV profit share of Michael, so you know, we're like earning money together as well, but
Yeah.
at the same time we
think goes past that.
we have on our side the flexibility and more time, because your team is taking a lot of that day to day, you know, work driving forward, because he's got the team in house, which allows me to focus on this. Harry's in Dubai, he's not even over here, so you know, he's out there trading. It allows us to focus on what is next, the growth side, and that's quite rare. You know, if we was just doing development and we was in that core day to day, it's very hard to be.
You've probably leapfrogged 10 years, haven't you?
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
If you look at it, because normally, like say, you'd have to learn your scars and everything right at the beginning. But I think you are going to grow a lot quicker than most people will, which is exciting. And you know, even before we started showing me a potential project that it's got under the radar at the moment. I was just thinking, when do you sleep? Because that's phenomenal. I don't need to talk about it today, but it's incredible that that's not even in the same arena of what we're talking about now. I mean, you was away on holiday, and I was away on holiday. We got to know, again. I've only known the guys, well, not that long really. Have I? I've known your dad for years, yeah. But when on holiday, we're swapping WhatsApps of what's gone on recently, and something's not even to do with the development, is it? You know. It's the relationships already, I think, with our team but it's definitely down to you two, because they're so engaging. Always walk in our office with a smile on their face, always walk out with a smile on their face, but they take time. I'm saying this to you genuinely. They take time with every single person they talk to. It's not hi and walk off. They take time to talk to you, and I just think that goes a long way as a businessman going forward. So I truly believe it. They've both.
Well, we learn from, you know, it's not just Michael we're learning from though, is it? It's like, it's every single one. So like you mentioned, like even you, Kev, it's like, you know, Sharon in the office, like once a month we have a call with Sharon, go over all sort of like the loan, where the budget is, what we've drawn down, what's to be paid. So Sharon we create a portal between us all, and Sharon's got everything set up in there, so we just can keep track of everything, so it's on point for that project. You know, then Alex, the sales manager, you know, learning from her about understanding like the market, the timings, all that side of things. Tony and the boys in there as well. You know, having Tony has been amazing. You know, understand like the appraisal side, what he's looking out for when he's looking at a site.
Too pretty though, isn't he?
Yeah. Still can't believe he's Turkish.
He is, yeah. Don't look it, is he?
So like, you know, just being around that environment, it's been a real eye opener, and that's what just like we love. It's just like learning.
I suppose sometimes when you're here, you can feel a bit detached. That's why I like going into an office, because you get that. You're hearing everything else is going on that's even outside of what your roles and responsibilities are, and I find that really exciting to hear that. So I suppose when you come in, that's a bit of the energy you do get.
Well, and it's like, you know, I've only been in that position, and it's lucky, you know, it's timing as well. So if we would have got that through planning in COVID and it went really smoothly, we'd have been on that site, and then, you know, probably running into even worse a market or whatever, with the rising costs of COVID and all that stuff. But it allowed me to get this business to a stage where, you know, we have a really good team in there now. So it allows me to focus on growing the development business, and looking into other opportunities that we can present and do together as well. So what's next for me is ultimately developing the Corker Brothers brand properly, because although we've got, you know, a brand at the minute and we're known as Corker Brothers, that identity hasn't been developed by anyone. That was just me doing it on Illustrator myself, you know, just so we could get a placeholder brand in place. We could bootstrap it really that first 12 months. We could understand the industry, we could learn from the people who was around, you know, understand like the competition, who was out there. And then next year, as we, you know, realise our profits from Matfield, we can then again just take our time to really develop that core identity and strategy of like, right, what direction are we going in? What is our mission? How are we going to develop that? What are all the touch points we need to execute on that? And then really roll it out. So like, I love like doing everything we're doing now, but you know, we're warming up, mate. We're warming up.
I think once you get that second development, you're then going to go, we're in it now. We are now doing it. This is not a one-off. We are now in the game.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I find it weird to even call myself a developer. I don't think I've ever called myself a developer now. Because like, we're almost like a hybrid new age sort of developer, aren't we really?
Whereas using technology like you do,
yeah,
it's fascinating. It's just showed me your calendar app that it's got. I mean, how many apps have you got? I've lost count. But you've got an app for pretty much everything, or a software solution for finding something.
Well, it's like I'm always trying to like just fine tune, just fine tune that little 1% more all the time.
You got an app for feeding the dog?
I don't know, I'll think about that. That's a good idea. No, that's my mum and dad normally feeds the dog. Oh, let me call them.
You haven't got time for that. Yeah.
So no, yeah, I mean, we're really, I mean, this is just the start of the relationship, isn't it? Really, so it's
Have you found
exciting.
any new projects yet? We haven't got to name them yet, but have you got anything?
We've got one, yeah, we're currently in legals with at the minute,
Good.
which will be a nice one, which is on our doorstep, local area
Oh,
again.
a good builder, by the way.
Yeah, they have to send me his detail. So yeah, same setup again. We'll be partnering with Mark on that one, and yeah, we'll be
Exciting.
excited to do that one. Mm.
Can't wait to see it.